When the evacuation order comes, the herd will run. They'll pack their cars, clog the highways, and flee straight into the chaos of the unknown, leaving behind the greatest fortresses of the modern world. They see empty cities. You need to see castles. They see abandoned buildings. You need to see strategic high ground. While most people are out fighting for scraps in the wilderness, the smart survivor will command a palace of concrete and steel. You just have to know where to look. In this video, I'm going to show you the 9 locations that become instant fortresses when everyone else runs for the hills. And by the end, you'll never look at your city the same way again. This isn't about finding some remote cabin in the woods. This is about urban warfare logistics. It's about seeing the hidden potential in the structures everyone else thoughtlessly abandons. It's about understanding that in a world turned upside down, the person who controls the high ground, the choke points, and the resources controls their own destiny. Now, before we get into the list, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell. We're going deep into tactical analysis that could one day be the most important information you have, and you won't want to miss what's coming. Number 1, the active fortress. We've toured islands, mountains, and concrete jungles, but the number 1 location that becomes a fortress isn't a place you find, it's a place you make. It is the principle of creating defensible space. This isn't about a specific spot on a map, but a strategy that can be applied to your own home, your own neighborhood, turning it into a hardened bastion capable of withstanding chaos. The core concept of defensible space actually comes from wildfire prevention, where you create a buffer zone around your property by clearing away anything flammable. The goal is to create an area where a threat in that case, fire has no fuel and is totally exposed. When you apply that to security, the principle is identical. You are denying an attacker cover and creating a prepared space where you have the tactical advantage. This is the ultimate fortress because it starts wherever you are. It's about proactive defense, not reactive flight. The strategy involves creating concentric rings of security around your home. The outer ring, maybe 100 feet out, is your clearance zone. Here, you remove anything that could provide cover for an attacker: thick bushes, decorative walls, piles of junk. You want clean lines of sight from your windows. This is your kill zone. Anyone crossing this space is exposed. The next ring, from 30 feet in, is the hardening zone. Here, you reinforce everything. You install better lighting, reinforce fences, and plant thorny bushes under windows. You move flammable materials like firewood piles away from the house. Every element is designed to slow an attacker down and funnel them where you can best deal with them. Finally, your home is the keep. You harden doors and windows, you have a designated safe room stocked with supplies, and you have a plan for defending every single room. You've thought about fields of fire from each window. You've prepared barricades. You've turned your suburban house from a soft target into a hard point. The supreme advantage here is that it's proactive and scalable. You can start today with your own property, and you can scale it up. Imagine an entire neighborhood that adopts this principle. The streets are clear, fences are reinforced, and a neighborhood watch is coordinated. Each home is a hard point, and the entire subdivision becomes a defensible community. When the evacuation order comes, this community doesn't flee, they lock the gates. They've already built their fortress, they have food, water, and a plan. They are an island of order in a sea of chaos. The tactical approach is about continuous improvement and community organization. Start by looking at your own property through the eyes of an attacker. Where's the cover? Where are the blind spots? Then, you systematically eliminate them. Then, you talk to your neighbors. You form a pact. You agree on a communication plan, a watch schedule, and a mutual defense strategy. Number 2, the concrete jungle's crown. At number 2, we have what is maybe the most dangerous, and yet most powerful, fortress on this list, the megacity with limited ways out. Think of the island of Manhattan or the peninsula of Miami Beach. These are places where millions of people are packed into a dense urban environment with only a handful of bridges and tunnels to escape through. In normal times, that's just a traffic nightmare. In a mass evacuation, it's a catastrophic failure of logistics. The roads will become impassable in minutes, clogged with a solid mass of abandoned cars. The city will effectively seal itself shut. For the unprepared masses trapped inside, it's a death trap. But for a prepared, well-positioned group, the city's greatest weakness becomes its greatest defense. The city itself becomes the wall. The strategic advantage is one of scale and complexity. Forget defending a single building. Here, you can defend an entire district. The gridlocked city becomes a massive, three-dimensional maze that is utterly impenetrable to large, organized forces. Any vehicle-borne threat is neutralized. Attackers have to move on foot, navigating a labyrinth of empty cars, concrete canyons, and potential ambushes from thousands of windows above. It's urban warfare on the grandest scale, and the defender has every advantage. And inside this fortress, you have access to an insane density of resources. Every apartment building is a potential source of canned food and supplies. Every office building has furniture for barricades. Pharmacies, hardware stores, restaurants, the sheer volume of goods left behind is staggering. The key is to think vertically. The streets aren't yours anymore, but there's another way to move: rooftops and upper floors. It's a vertical world where the rules change completely. Forget the ground floor. Your base of operations should be on a high floor of a structurally sound skyscraper. From here, you command the area. You have unparalleled observation, you're safe from the chaos on the streets, and you have multiple escape routes through adjoining buildings. You don't just see the battle space, you own it from above. Your tactical approach is to establish a vertical citadel. Choose a modern steel-frame skyscraper or a heavily reinforced concrete residential building. Secure the lower floors, completely weld the doors, brick up the windows. Your access is now controlled through the roof, or a single heavily guarded service entrance. You use the upper floors for observation, the middle floors for living, and the lower, secured floors for storage. You can even use the huge water tanks on the roofs of most large buildings for a sustainable water supply. Number 3. The Barren Bastion. Coming in at a powerful number 3 is the classic, time-tested fortress, the island. But we're not talking about a tropical paradise. We're talking about strategic islands with limited access, places like Hilton Head Island in South Carolina or Mercer Island in Washington. These are locations where just one or two bridges connect them to the mainland, turning them into highly defensible strongholds when the world falls apart. The power of an island fortress is its absolute geographic isolation. The water is a barrier more effective than any wall, creating a natural moat that can be miles wide. This forces any threat from the mainland to a single predictable choke point, the bridge. Whoever controls the bridge controls the island. It's a simple, brutal equation. During a mass evacuation, that bridge, clogged with fleeing people, is your first line of defense. Once it's clear, it becomes a gate you can open or close at will. The advantages are overwhelming. First, near-perfect defensibility. By securing the bridges, you effectively cut your island off from the chaos. Your defensive efforts can be concentrated on these few points, allowing a small group to defend a large area. Second, islands offer resources. You have access to saltwater fishing, and many have their own freshwater ponds or high water tables. A study from Anglia Ruskin University even identified island nations as the most likely places to survive a global societal collapse, thanks to their isolation and self-sufficiency. That same principle applies on a smaller scale. An island community, forced to rely on itself, can form a tight-knit, resilient society. Your tactical approach is to seize the bridgehead on your side of the island immediately. You must establish a fortified checkpoint, control all traffic, and be ready to disable the bridge if you have to. This could mean having tools to create a gap in the road, or even preparing demolition charges as a last resort. You also need a coastal patrol. While an amphibious assault is less likely from a disorganized population, it's a threat that must be monitored. Securing any marinas gives you not only an early warning system but also a fleet for fishing and transport. The biggest risk to an island fortress is its long-term dependence on the mainland for certain resources. You might have food and water, but you will eventually run out of things like advanced medical supplies or ammunition. An island can become a prison as much as a fortress if you can't produce everything you need. Survival depends on achieving true self-sufficiency. Large-scale gardens, renewable energy, and workshops for manufacturing and repair. It's a monumental task, but for those who achieve it, the island fortress is one of the safest platforms from which to ride out the apocalypse. Number 4. The purpose-built citadel. At number 4, we have the locations that were literally designed from the ground up to be fortresses, military bases. Places like the former Clark Air Base in the Philippines aren't just collections of buildings, They are entire ecosystems of security, command, and control. If society collapses, these installations become the most valuable real estate on the planet. For the average person, a military base is a closed-off world. But in a scenario where the chain of command has broken and the base is abandoned, it represents a golden ticket for a prepared group. These places aren't just defensible, they were designed for war. The strategic advantages are almost too many to list. Start with the perimeter. Layers of high fences, barbed wire, concrete barriers, and guard towers. Access is funneled through heavily fortified gates designed to stop anything up to a car bomb. Inside this perimeter is a self-contained city. You have barracks for housing, a hospital, mess halls for large-scale food prep, and motor pools full of vehicles and fuel. But the real treasure is the infrastructure. Military bases have their own power generators, often with massive fuel reserves. They have their own water and sewage treatment systems. They have sophisticated communication centers with powerful radios. And of course, they have armories and ammo dumps. While these will be the first things secured or emptied by a departing military, whatever is left behind is a game changer. Many bases, especially air bases, also have vast open spaces and runways that can be converted to agriculture. The tactical approach to occupying a military base is audacious. This is not a solo mission. You need numbers to patrol the vast perimeter and operate the complex systems. The ideal scenario is to integrate with any military personnel who've been left behind. Their knowledge would be invaluable. Priority 1 is a systematic sweep and inventory. You need to know exactly what you have: fuel, food, medical supplies, operational vehicles. You must secure the armories and ammo points immediately, even if they're empty, just to control access. The risks here are enormous. A military base is the ultimate prize, and other powerful organized groups will want it. You might have to fight to take it, and you will definitely have to fight to hold it. Another risk is the complexity of the base itself. The power plants and water systems require specialized knowledge. Without trained personnel, these systems will eventually fail. Number 5. The Prepper's Paradise. Number 5 on our list is the kind of place preppers dream about, the remote community with a single road in and a single road out. These are the small towns tucked away in deserts, forests, or on coastal spits of land, places like Pahrump, Nevada, or Hutchinson Island, Florida. Their isolation, often an economic disadvantage in normal times, becomes their greatest tactical advantage in a crisis. The concept is beautifully simple and brutally effective. If there's only one way in, you only have to defend one point. It is the purest form of a strategic choke point. There are no back roads, no forgotten trails for a threat to sneak through. Everyone must pass through a single, controllable gateway. This transforms the entire community into a fortress, with the gate miles away from the homes it protects. The advantages here are profound. The main one is total access control. You can see, identify, and, if you have to, block anyone trying to enter. This gives an incredible sense of security and allows the community to function with a degree of normalcy that would be impossible anywhere else. There's no need for every home to be an individual bunker when the entire valley is a unified stronghold. Second, these communities often have a strong social fabric already. People know their neighbors. There's a level of trust and mutual reliance that's been lost in bigger cities. When a crisis hits, this social cohesion is a powerful force multiplier. Organizing a defense and rationing resources is far easier when you're working with people you've known for years. The tactical approach is straightforward. The community must act as one to secure that single road. This can't be a simple roadblock. It needs to be a layered, defensible checkpoint located far enough down the road to give you ample warning time. It needs communication, shelter for the guards, and the ability to be reinforced quickly. That checkpoint becomes the community's shield. The risks are twofold. First, the illusion of perfect security. A community can get complacent, thinking that one road makes them invincible. A determined group might still try to force their way through. That checkpoint must be formidable and manned by disciplined people 24/7. The second, bigger risk is internal collapse. These small communities have limited resources. A bad harvest, a disease outbreak, or a lack of critical supplies could make the community fail from within. Number 6, the concrete island. Our 6th location is a geographic feature that's been a seat of power for centuries: the peninsula. A community built on a strip of land surrounded on three sides by water, like Charleston, South Carolina, is a natural fortress just waiting to be claimed. When the evacuation orders hit, these places become modern versions of Constantinople, defensible and dominant. The logic is simple and brutal. Water is the ultimate barrier. It's better than any wall, fence, or minefield. For a land-based threat, a body of water is an impassable obstacle unless they have boats, which most panicked refugees won't. This geography funnels all traffic across a narrow strip of land, the isthmus. That is your kill zone. It is the ultimate choke point. By controlling that small neck of land, you control everything. The strategic advantages are immense. First, you've drastically reduced your defensive fronts. Instead of worrying about a 360-degree perimeter, you have a single, narrow front to defend. This lets a smaller force concentrate its strength. Second, the water provides more than just defense, it provides resources. You have access to fishing, a food source that can be almost inexhaustible if managed right. It also provides a highway for transportation and trade with other coastal communities, letting you bypass the collapsed mainland. Plus, many peninsulas are home to ports and marinas. This means a potential treasure trove of resources: boats, fuel, and repair facilities with tools and spare parts. In a world where mobility is life, controlling a marina is like controlling an armored division. Your tactical approach needs to be swift and decisive. Seize control of the isthmus immediately. Set up layered defenses, a forward listening post, a primary roadblock, and a fallback position. The goal is to make the cost of forcing entry unthinkably high. You also have to secure the coastline. Patrol your shores to prevent amphibious landings, no matter how unlikely. Secure the port, take inventory of all vessels and fuel. A functioning boat is one of the most valuable assets in this new world. The primary risk is the threat from the sea. While a disorganized mob is easily stopped on land, a determined group with boats could try a landing on one of your exposed coasts. This requires a vigilant coastal watch and a mobile patrol that can respond fast. The other risk is a long siege. If a powerful group controls the land at the base of your peninsula, they could try to starve you out. This is why control of the sea and a sustainable food source are not just advantages, they are essential. Holding a peninsula is not for the faint of heart. It requires a naval mindset. But for those who can secure the land and the water, a peninsula becomes a sovereign kingdom. Number 7. The vertical fortress. Coming in at number 7, we're leaving man-made structures behind for the fortresses carved by nature itself, mountainous or geographically barred regions. These are the communities nestled in valleys or on plateaus where the terrain itself is your greatest defensive weapon. Think of towns in the Rockies like Telluride, Colorado, or communities in the Appalachians, where natural barriers do the work for you. The whole principle is controlling access. A city on a flat plain might have a dozen highways leading in, but a mountain community might only have one or two roads winding through treacherous passes. That's the modern-day equivalent of a castle's gatehouse. Anyone who wants in has to come through your choke point. Control the pass, and you control everything. The advantages are layered. First, observation. You own the high ground. From up there, you can see for miles. You can spot approaching vehicles or groups of people long before they become a threat. That early warning is a massive tactical advantage. You'll never be surprised. Second, the terrain is a force multiplier. Attackers are forced to move uphill, on predictable paths, exposed to fire from above. A small, well-positioned group can hold off a much larger force. Natural features like rockfalls and narrow canyons become your allies, creating impassable barriers and deadly ambushes. Third, these regions often breed self-reliance. The people who choose to live in these isolated areas are usually more resilient and skilled than your average city dweller. They're more likely to have food stocked, know how to hunt, and be comfortable with firearms. In a collapse, that pre-existing culture of preparedness is priceless. Your tactical approach is to secure those choke points immediately. Your first move should be to set up a permanent watch on the main roads leading into your area. A solid roadblock, manned by a few well-armed people with good communication, can effectively seal off your fortress. You also need to map out every secondary, hidden trail. You need to know all the ways in and out, while denying that knowledge to anyone else. Number 8. The water citadel. At number 8, we have a location hiding in plain sight, something most people drive past without a second thought: the humble water treatment plant. To the average person, it's just an industrial building that smells a little weird. To a strategic survivor, it's a castle with a moat and an infinite well. When society breaks down, the two most critical resources are security and water. A water treatment facility gives you both, in spades. These places are designed to be secure. As critical infrastructure, they're almost always surrounded by high-security fencing, often topped with barbed or razor wire. Access is usually limited to a single, heavily reinforced gate, a perfect, easy-to-defend choke point. The buildings are often windowless, made of reinforced concrete, and built to withstand industrial accidents. They're basically pre-made bunkers. The strategic advantages are almost unfair. First, you control a virtually unlimited supply of fresh, drinkable water. While everyone else is fighting over plastic bottles or trying to purify questionable sources, you can produce millions of gallons. This isn't just for survival, it's a source of immense power. Water becomes the ultimate currency. You can use it to trade, to build alliances, or to sustain a large community. The one who controls the water controls the region. Second, the defensibility is top tier. The fence is your outer wall, the concrete buildings are your keep. The large, open grounds inside the fence give you clear fields of fire, with nowhere for an attacker to hide. Many of these plants also have backup generators and large diesel fuel tanks on site. That means you might have power long after the grid goes down. Your tactical approach starts with a small, skilled team. You need someone with a basic understanding of mechanical engineering or plumbing to keep the systems running. Securing the perimeter is priority 1. Reinforce that main gate and set up observation posts with a 360-degree view. Number 9. The high-density labyrinth. Let's kick things off with a fortress that most people would run from. Number 9. High-density urban neighborhoods with limited vehicle access. I'm talking about the old hearts of cities like Chicago or Los Angeles, places with narrow streets, dense housing, and a population that mostly relies on public transport. When a crisis hits, what's the first thing people do? They jump in their cars. But in these neighborhoods, that's not really an option, and the result is a strange phenomenon. While the highways leaving the city become parking lots of desperation, these areas don't empty out with that same panicked speed. All that congestion, which is a nightmare in daily life, can be flipped into a powerful defensive advantage. Sure, the conventional view is that these are chaotic, dangerous places, and they can be. But for a prepared group, they become a compartmentalized fortress. Think about it. The dense network of alleyways, interconnected rooftops, and tight corridors creates a three-dimensional battle space that only locals can really navigate. Any outside force, whether it's a desperate mob or a more organized threat, will get bogged down in a confusing, hostile maze. The advantages are huge. First, natural choke points. Every narrow street, every underpass, every alley is a place where you can control movement. A few well-placed obstacles can make entire blocks impassable to vehicles, forcing any threat to come at you on foot, where they're far more vulnerable. Second, you get what military strategists call compartmentalized defense. Each building or block can be its own fortified unit. If one area is compromised, you fall back to the next, sealing the path behind you. It's a defender's dream. So, how do you do it? You think like an insurgent. You don't hold a perimeter, you control a network. Your first move is to map your territory and not just the streets. You need to know the hidden paths, rooftop access points, service tunnels, sewer grates, and adjoining basements. You have to know how to get from one end of your block to the other without ever touching the ground. You set up observation posts on the upper floors of buildings, giving you incredible lines of sight to monitor all approaches and coordinate your defense. So, from concrete islands to mountain passes, the key is to see the world not for what it is, but for what it can be. The bridges, the mountains, the fences, these aren't just parts of the landscape. They are the walls and gates of your future castle. Survival isn't about running from the storm, it's about finding the strongest shelter and riding it out. The herd will run for the hills, but the smart survivor knows that the greatest fortresses of the modern age are the ones the herd is leaving behind. It just requires a new way of looking at your environment, a tactical mindset that sees advantage where others only see abandonment. What do you think? Are there any locations we missed? Which of these 9 do you think is the most defensible? Let us know in the comments below. Your insights could be the key that helps someone else develop their own plan. Stay smart, stay prepared, and stay safe.